right, so welcome back to the channel, everyone. This is the adventures of Gray and
White.
White, and today um, we're in November, and Kylie, you're heading to Florida tomorrow
Yes.
with Liam for a 5-day getaway, and you're going to be enjoying some of the sunshine and the better weather down in Florida, but also working.
Yep. Putting checks in the bank for our Seniors Helping Seniors franchise. There's U.S. Thanksgiving on Thursday. There's also the tree lighting ceremony start in
Oh
the
yeah,
villages
yeah.
on Saturday.
Wow, yeah, so that's going to be lots of fun. And for those of you that don't know about tree lighting ceremonies in the villages, there's 3 different areas in the village. They're called town squares, and each one of them has a Christmas tree lighting ceremony. So that's happening on Saturday.
The
The
first
first
one
one for
starts on
Saturday.
Saturday,
So
and then it'll go all next week.
so that's an adventure we like to go on every year, right? And
Yes.
so we've been
See
doing
one
that
at
for the
least.
at least one, yeah.
Yep.
So that's fabulous. So that's tomorrow. But today, what we really wanted to sort of talk about was how we got to being in Florida and the steps needed for us to get a house in the US. So basically, we just want to talk about 3 steps that we took in order to make sure that when we were ready to purchase, we had the things in place. So let's start with step 1 of how do you get prepared to buy a house in the States? What would you do first?
The first thing I would do was go to my bank in Canada and ask them to open up a US bank account. So a US based bank account. So not a US funds account, but RBC and TD have US based banks. And you can link your Canadian bank accounts. You can have Canadian funds, US funds in your Canadian bank accounts and link them to your US based US bank accounts.
So that's important, right? Because a lot of people will open up a cross-border account, which allows them like access to US dollars, but it's not really a bank account linked to a US bank. It's still linked to the Canadian bank.
Right.
So you're not building any real identity in the US, and you're not building a credit score or anything like that. It's really still Canada.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you've
And you
got
get a credit card too. You
Okay,
get a
so that's
bank
the second
account
step,
and a
right? So the
credit card.
first step is to get a bank account. Second step is to get a credit card. And again, that's a US
Base.
bank credit card.
Yes.
So you can get that by opening up a bank account?
Yes.
Okay.
You did it.
Okay, I did it.
You
Yeah,
did it, not
I
me.
did it.
You did
Yeah,
it.
for sure. I did it. All right, so first thing you gotta do is open up a US based bank account. Second thing you gotta do is get a
Card.
card in order to start building US credit, right? And what would be the third step in all of this sort of getting ready for buying a house in the US?
Figure out which bank you want to bank with in the US and get pre approved for a mortgage.
Right. So we bank with RBC, Royal Bank of Canada, and we also bank with Toronto Dominion Bank of Canada, TD Bank. But we chose to work with RBC for our first purchase just because we have our current real estate brokerage banking with RBC, and we've got a bit of a relationship on the Canadian side, and they referred someone to us in the US that does mortgages for RBC.
Correct.
Right? So that's one way to sort of start the process, is to get a referral from the bank that you're already doing business with, because there's a relationship there and there's a trust there. Whereas my brother did TD Bank, right? So he went with TD Bank rather than RBC Bank because that's who he banks with here,
Correct.
right? All right, so just to recap, if you're looking to buy a house in the States, the first thing you want to do is build credit there in order to show that you can afford a home and be trustworthy on a US account, because it's completely different than just getting pre-approved in Canada. You actually have to get pre-approved in the US.
Yes.
Right? So open up a bank account,
Start using it.
start using it,
Start funding it.
get a credit card,
Start
using it and paying it off in order to build a FICO score, or FICO score, whatever you call it. And then step 3 would be to actually get pre-approved so that when you're ready to buy in the US, you actually have those things in place. And what was the length of time that it took to do that for us? It was
About a year.
about a year, right? To work through that process and be able to, go down and say, okay, we want to buy a house and be ready to go. So that's awesome, right? So that's the first 3 steps that you want to do if you're looking to buy in the States is open a bank account, get a credit card, get pre-approved, and then you're ready to go. So tomorrow you're off to the villages?
Yes.
All right. Well, I hope you have a great adventure
Thank you.
because I'll be here with Elvis and Priscilla and looking after the dogs. So
And Kaylin.
And Kaylin, yeah, that's right. All right. Thanks for joining us and feel free to subscribe to our channel as we go through the adventures of Gray
And White.